Hey, stolen cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Bing, 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 bing. Ding, 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 ding. Where are we at? Our good cousin SSG Animation's house. What are we doing? Three true Tinder horror stories animated. You know how crazy it gets. Let's go on and get into this. As always, please go over to our cousin's house. Subscribe. Subscribe to the channel of SSG Animations. Like some videos if you haven't already. Then you can come back and enjoy the videos with me as well. You should already be subscribed over here, so I'm not gonna be like subscribe over here too, because you should already be subscribed as I'm giving you this speech. Okay? And yeah, let's get up into it. Please like the video, grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket so you can be snug. Okay? You know how crazy it be. I know how crazy it be. So let's see.
Have you ever heard of the legend of the Wendigos? They are supernatural and mythical beings that feed on human flesh. Their cold, powerful skin is resistant to almost anything except fire. And although they are blind, they make up for it with accurate hearing, unbeatable speed, and tremendous strength. Fortunately, it's not easy to become a Wendigo. Unlike werewolves, Wendigos don't infect you with their condition by biting or scratching you. The only way to become a Wendigo is to eat human flesh in the cursed area they inhabit, consisting of a forest and a huge cave. You may wonder why I am so interested in these monsters, right? Well, today, I will tell you about the time I encountered a Wendigo, and that encounter almost cost me my life. The day it all happened, I was very happy, as my uncle gave me the keys to his cabin for 2 weeks. I was going to meet my friends the next day, but since I had plenty of time, I thought it would be a great location for my Tinder date. I had been talking to Angela for almost a month. I honestly couldn't bring myself to take the step to get off Tinder and meet her in person. I felt there was already some trust between us. We were already following each other on all the social networks. And we had stopped chatting on Tinder a while ago. With a lot of fear of her response, I told her to go to the cabin, and she accepted. The trip was long and annoying, as it used to be, but this time, I was not alone, so it was better.
Okay.
When we arrived, I felt at home. As soon as we arrived, we enjoyed the fireplace while listening to music and talking while cooking. The food was technically done. I just had to heat it up. The evening was going perfectly. Angela was fantastic, and I could tell that she was having a great time too. But something interrupted the date. Angela and I started to hear footsteps coming from upstairs. Was there an invader? How was that possible? Everything was locked, and no one had forced their way in. There were no stairs nearby, and the house was high enough not to enter through the chimney. Maybe it was our imagination, but just in case, I grabbed a knife and carefully made my way upstairs while Angela waited downstairs. As I approached the room, which was where the sound was coming from, I walked slowly to its source. Each step I took was quieter than the next. The sound became louder and louder. I could no longer deny that there was something. With a violent kick, I opened the door, and there I found the cause of the commotion. It was a small rat crawling out of a pizza box.
You a lie.
Ugh. We're lucky we have a room downstairs. Hey, Angela. It was nothing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
At that moment, I remembered that my sister joined her friends a little over a month ago. Part of me was relieved, and part of me was furious with her for leaving something like that in the house. I turned around, ready to rejoin Angela. But in front of me, there it was.
Rat?
A huge 6-foot being was a few feet away, walking in my direction. I wanted to scream, to run, to cry. I couldn't do any of this. I was paralyzed with fear, and when
Like,
I
can
think
you
about
not
it
do
today,
this? I got a
I
girl
realize
downstairs.
that was the reason I am still alive. The being slowly approached me. At that moment, I saw its eyes. They were light blue like water, but strangely crystallized. This monster had something strange in its eyes. It was as if it was lost. That's when I realized that it was blind. At that moment, I remembered all the legends my grandfather told me about this cabin. Our parents would get angry when he told it, and we listened attentively, very amused.
What Papa say?
We never thought any of it was true. We never thought Wendigos really existed.
I listen to everything my Papa said.
I stood still while the being walked aloft, looking for the source of the sound. Once it moved away, I walked slowly down the stairs. With each step I took, I felt more terrified than the last. Every fiber of my body was cramping. I felt an icy chill run down my spine. Somehow, I managed to hold it together until I had the worst luck of all. The same rat from before ran past me, and from the shock, I let out a little gasp of surprise. When I raised my head, the Wendigo was with his face in front of mine. He knew I was there. I could feel his breath on my face as he moved his head around looking for me. The monster opened his mouth for a moment, and I thought it was the end of me. I could feel his horrible death breath coming in through my nose. I was terrified. I wanted to cry as hard as possible and succumb to my instincts to run, but I knew it would kill me. Silence had taken over the room, but this was a good thing. As long as I didn't make any rash moves, I could wait for the opportunity and escape. But this would not be so easy, as a voice would interrupt the absolute quiet and attract the monster's attention.
Hey, is everything all right?
Seeing that I was late, Angela came up the stairs looking for me, and without realizing it, she made herself an easy prey for the terrifying monster.
Damn. Damn!
The monster ran violently towards Angela. This was my perfect opportunity to escape, but I couldn't leave her there.
Your perfect
Almost
opportunity?
as a reflex, I jumped at the Wendigo and threw it to the ground, knocking it to the ground as Angela desperately ran away. My beating off the monster lasted only as long as I surprised it, as it took control of the fight, grabbed me with its huge, sharp teeth, threw me out of the door, and I fell down the stairs. I took that opportunity to gather my energy and escape through the front door. Behind me, I could hear the monster running and jumping at an enormous speed.
Why would you have us go to your house if you knew you had these sheets up in here?
I slammed the door in the monster's face, but it started banging on the huge wooden door.
Let me bring a girl over to the
I got
house
out,
if you knew
my
you
car
had
was
these
gone.
Wendigos up in here?
Angela had escaped. The monster was about to break the door. If I ran, it would surely catch up with me. I didn't know what to do.
Y'all went there in her car?
Luckily, a noise and a light behind me gave me the relief of my life. Angela was back.
Okay, good shit.
After opening the car door for me, I jumped in, and as we saw the cabin door destroyed and the monster running towards us, my Tinder date started the car and we escaped. After that, I called my friends and told them not to come. Thinking it was a joke, they went anyway.
You're lying.
None of them encountered the Wendigo, but they found out that my house was destroyed inside, and they believed me. After that shared experience, Angela and I went on another date. But this time, it was a restaurant in the city. We never went to that cabin again, which was forgotten with time.
How? And y'all was just chased down like that.
Me and my mother love to shop together. We feel like it's our rite of passage.
Period.
And at least once a month, me and my mom go to the mall to shop, have lunch, and spend some time together. Since I moved out, me and my mom do not get to spend quality time with each other, so shopping seemed like a good idea just to meet up, chat, and spend time with each other. Not always do we shop a lot of things. All we want to do is connect with one another. Mostly we just go to the shops we love and then sit in the food court chatting. But this month, when we went to the mall, there was a lot of rush, more than usual. That was because some small business had set up some stalls to sell their items in the open space in the market. Me and my mom love to explore new places to shop, and supporting small businesses always feels amazing. So here we were, my mother and I checking out some casual pants from a small stall. Then we spotted a couple not far away from us. They were checking out t-shirts from another stall. The woman was a beautiful blonde, wearing a leather jacket, and she was with a man who looked much older than her. He seemed fit under his white hoodie and pants, but from his face and balding head, you could easily tell that he was at least 50. The woman must not have been older than 25. The man was holding the woman's forearm in his grip. At first glance, I thought he was a father with his daughter. But suddenly, the man leaned closer and kissed the woman on her lips, confirming that they were indeed a couple. However, when the man kissed the woman, she did not seem so pleased, and the man subtly tightened his grip on her forearm. You must wonder why I noticed all these things.
No,
That is because my own elder sister married a man 17 years her senior. His name is Jackson, and he is the most amazing guy I had ever met. He loves my sister, and they are happily married with a son for 6 years now. So anytime I see a couple with a significant age gap, I think of them. But this couple seemed odd for an entirely different reason. The woman was stiff and seemed a little scared. The man was clearly dominating her from their body language. Serena, look at these pants. What do you think? Should I buy it?
Damn people.
What are you looking at? When my mom noticed that I was busy staring at something instead of helping her shop, she too noticed the couple. Don't you think something is odd with those two? My mom said, after observing the couple for a minute. The woman seemed to constantly look down and to her side instead of looking at the t-shirts in front of her or her boyfriend. From her body language, it seemed like she was searching for something or someone. Perhaps she needed help. That's when she turned and her eyes locked with mine. The man, her boyfriend, was still holding her hand, but he was just checking out the clothes. Suddenly, the woman raised her palm, folded her thumb over her palm, and then closed her 4 fingers over the thumb, making a fist. She did this twice, and I knew what she meant instantly.
That's cold, right?
What is she doing? My mom asked me. Mom, she is asking for help. She is in a dangerous situation. We need to help her. That's when the man yanked her towards him and kissed her again. This time, however, the woman seemed openly disgusted, but the man didn't notice and continued picking t-shirts from the stand. Serena, we need to separate the woman from the man, and to do that, we need to distract him enough for him to let her go.
He ain't gonna let her go.
Yeah, I agree.
So
But how do we do that? Idea! How about this? I will approach the man asking for his help to book a taxi. I will pretend to be confused and unable to use the app. Plus, I will tell him that I do not have my glasses with me, so I can't see the screen.
Okay.
He will be forced to book a car for me. And that's when you can sneak from the other side and take the woman to the ladies' room. That's the only place in the mall he won't go to find her. We will contact the authorities afterwards to make sure the girl is safe. What do you say? Brilliant. This plan is perfect. Let's get going. I walked in the opposite direction, and my mom put her acting face on, grabbed her phone, and walked up to the man looking extremely clueless.
I'm proud of y'all.
The moment my mom started talking to him, he let go of the girl, and I approached her from the opposite side, and as if on cue, she started walking away with me toward the ladies' washroom.
Hurry up.
I glanced behind me for one last time and noticed the man shaking his head at my mom as if he did not want to help her. My mom, being the pro she is, thanked him and walked away in search of someone else to help her.
Good shit,
The man
Mom.
began frantically looking around to find his girlfriend. The moment we entered the washroom, the girl threw her arms around me and hugged
Start
me.
crying.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You just saved me from a monster.
Okay, tell us
Are you
more.
okay? Now I am, the girl said,
Tell us
and
more,
tears
tell
began
us
rolling
more.
down her cheeks. Now, all we had to do was wait for Mom to arrive with the authorities. Turns out, the woman's name was Sasha, and she was on a Tinder date, which had gone wrong.
You're crazy.
She matched with a man
I
called
was
Jeffrey a
wondering
week ago, and she knew he was older than her,
Tinder.
as she preferred older men. When they began talking, Jeffrey was very kind and funny, and Sasha instantly felt a connection with him. It didn't hurt that he was in good shape even at 52. He had 2 kids and was divorced. Sasha was a beautiful girl, one could tell even though her eyes were red from all the crying. Almost a week later, Jeffrey asked Sasha out, and she was very eager to meet him, the man who had made her feel special for the past few days. However, everything flipped the moment she met him in a restaurant at the mall. He was definitely as handsome as he was in his picture, but definitely not as nice and kind as he portrayed himself to be. From the first conversation itself, he was dominating and outright possessive. After their dinner, Sasha was too scared to tell him no and go home. He was practically dragging her around the mall and was planning to take her home to his place. God only knows what he would have done to her if we hadn't stepped in. Thankfully, Mom arrived soon with the cops, and the matter was sorted, but the cops couldn't find Jeffrey anywhere in the mall.
What? Because he left.
We left Sasha with the authorities and went back home. But this was the worst Tinder experience I know about.
Her name was Claire Smith. She had the prettiest blue eyes in addition to a very nice smile. We had matched the night before on Tinder, and after talking for a while, we decided to go on a date. It was a great restaurant, and I arrived early. I waited for about 30 minutes before she finally got there. And as
I don't know.
She walked up to me, waited for about 30
because this man, every time I see him, he does some shit to piss me off. This little character right here. Every time.
Minutes before she finally got there. And as she walked up to me, I smiled because she looked exactly like her pictures. I had always been wary about first dates, as I had been a victim of catfishing numerous times in the past. So I was usually relieved when my date looked like the person they were claiming to be in real life. When she finally arrived at our table, we exchanged pleasantries before we ordered what to eat. We spoke extensively as the date went on, and as she told me about her hobbies, her likes and dislikes, and her plans for the future. I really enjoyed the date and her company, but after a while, I realized that there was something off about her. She had a very strange aura, as I could tell by her facial expressions that she wasn't really comfortable. It looked like she was worried about something. After a while, I decided to ignore it, because apart from those little strange details, she seemed like a really nice person. The date eventually came to an end, and as I made preparations to leave, Claire looked at me and said, "Hey, this was really great. I really enjoyed myself, and I actually don't want it to end. I hope this isn't too forward, but I would love if we continued this date at my apartment." Now, this was a bit strange to me, as most people normally waited till after the second date or third date before inviting someone over. But even then, I still wanted to accept the invitation, as I really enjoyed the date too. So I agreed, and we made our way to her apartment. When we arrived, she offered me a seat before she asked the question, "Do you drink?" So I replied with, "Yes, I do."
Yeah, I wasn't drinking.
I then saw her smile as she said, "That's great. Wait here while I go whip up something really nice for us to drink." As she left for the kitchen, I found myself taking in my surroundings. She had a really nice apartment and nothing seemed out of place. I waited in the living room for a while as she took her time in the kitchen. I could hear her making the drinks from where I was sitting, and after a while, she came out with a homemade cocktail and 2 glasses. She poured out 2 drinks before handing me one. And as I took the drink from her, Claire looked at me with a smile and said, "Now before you try the drink, I'd like if you could, truthfully, tell me what you really think about it." I found her statement a bit odd, as she was now looking at me with so much excitement. I was a bit confused, but I didn't want to seem rude, as I knew she put a lot of effort into making it. So I smiled and took a sip of the cocktail. It tasted amazing, as I found myself drinking the whole thing. When I was done, I looked at her and said, "Wow, that was delicious. Did you actually make this cocktail by yourself?" Claire then smiled and said, "Yes, I did. I'm in my final college year, but I bartend on the side. So I always like creating delicious cocktails in my free time and getting people's thoughts on them." As she said that, I finally realized why she was so enthusiastic about me tasting the cocktail. After that, I had a couple more glasses as we continued talking into the night. After a while, Claire looked at me and said, "I'm really glad this is going well. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not really good at this online dating stuff. I've been told I put off a really weird aura because I get really anxious and nervous on every first date. Most of the time, I don't know what to do, so I'm really glad I didn't scare you off. I remember letting out a small chuckle as I replied with, I won't lie, I actually noticed that, but I like you too much to care. Claire then smiled as she reached out and gave me a kiss.
Rolled my damn eyes.
After that, Claire got up to get more of her homemade cocktail in the kitchen, but I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to do it, as it was now or never. So I reached for one of the glass bottles that were on the table, and I broke off.
This video here, I'll watch every time I come across it because it pissed me off so much. So much. I wish I could go to the very, very first time I seen it and for you guys to see the shock and the horror in my face. Okay? But now we're going to experience it together.
Homemade cocktail in the kitchen, but I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to do it, as it was now or never. So I reached for one of the glass bottles that were on the table, and I broke off its base.
Just wait.
Shocked, Claire turned around to see what happened, and I started to apologize as I explained it was an accident. But as she bent down to pick up the broken glass shards, I used the head of the now broken bottle to stab her in the gut. She started to scream, so I immediately forced my hands over her mouth to stop her scream. And as she bled out, I calmly whispered in her ear, when I was a boy, Claire, my father used to take me hunting. We mostly hunted the game in the forest, animals like deers and rabbits. And even though I thoroughly enjoyed it, I've always wanted more. So, when I was 14, I decided to hunt something better. I waited for a particular woman who used to hike in our forest every morning, and during her hike that morning, I shot and killed her. Claire started struggling and screaming now, but I held her down as I continued with, that was the beginning of something really beautiful in my life, Claire, and I wanted more of it, so I kept hunting down women. I moved to the city to get my hands on more game, and after a while, I realized something amazing. In this modern world, hunting animals like you has never been easier. Because dating platforms like Tinder do all the work, as they bring my prey right to me. I then removed my hands from her mouth as I threw her body to the floor. She had lost a lot of blood now, so her screams weren't as loud anymore. I then looked at her and said, I consider myself a modern hunter, Claire, and you should be grateful because you have the pleasure of seeing me. Women like you are so desperate for love, and I know you'd do anything to get it. That alone makes people like you my perfect target. I mean, it only took a pretty face like mine to get you to invite a stranger into your home. I then watched as she tried to crawl towards the door before continuing with, but you know the best thing about hunting, Claire? It's the look of despair in your victim's eyes as they try to get away from you. That, my dear Claire, is the thrill of hunting. Looking on as your game puts up a futile struggle before you take that hope away by slowly putting them out of their misery. And with that, I repeatedly stabbed her with the broken bottle. She struggled, but it didn't take long before she was dead. When I was done having my fun, I calmly went outside to get the tools from my car. I then went back into Claire's apartment and I got to work. I put on my gloves and I cleaned up the place with bleach. I carried her bloody corpse and I put it in the bathtub that I had already filled with high-grade acid. The apartment now looked cleaner than ever, and the carcass was safely locked away in the bathtub. It'd take a couple of days before her remains are found, and I'd be long gone by then. So with a smile on my face, I made my way out of the apartment, and I congratulated myself on another successful hunt. That night, after dinner, I found myself using the Tinder app again. It didn't take long before I had quickly matched with another woman. She was called Abigail Dawson. She had beautiful brown eyes and amazing black hair. She lived in Los Angeles, and as we started texting, I began to smile as I said to myself, let the hunt begin.
No. That is why y'all need to be careful going on these dates with these damn strangers. because people be trying to hunt you and people be trying to kill you. That last story will piss me off every single time. And when I mean every single time, well, when I say every single time, I mean every single time. Because the other ones I have seen, the other ones I have seen, I mean, I haven't seen. The second one, the shopping, made me sick to my stomach. The first one, Wendigo, why would you bring someone over to your papa house knowing that there's demons over there and expect her not to holler when she see the damn demon? Like, don't piss me off because you bring me over to your papa house and I see a demon. I'm hollering, getting us both killed. What an old girl, why would you leave and he just saved you? Because I would have drove off, gone. Ain't gotta worry about me no more. This video was just crazy to me. I enjoyed it though. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, I love y'all. Bye.